Hello everyone and welcome to a new Albion Online Dev Talk. My name is Michael Schwan. I'm the game designer mainly responsible for PvP, and today I want to talk to you about the changes in this field for the new upcoming content update. And like we already mentioned before, we have been working on the technical side to improve large-scale fights. And we have also been thinking on the design side, how we can improve them and how we can make them more exciting, what we can add, what layer we can add to make it more exciting. And some idea that has been floating around for quite some while, which we finally implemented now, is adding battle mounts. That means players on mounts contribute to the fight. They can activate spells while they're mounted. And on a high level, how we envision this is we have, like, say, two armies clashing, and you have 10 to 20 normal players without mounts and one or two mounts accompanying them and amplifying their strengths. We don't want to push the game into only mounted players. With this being said, let's get straight into it. The first mount we have is the Command Mammoth. That's a big tank which is with a lot of hit points and super high armor that can buff all the allies. It can provide a big shield aura, shielding allies around it. It can increase their strength, send out a charge command when all your allies have a short attack steroid to dive in. And it's really hard to take down for the enemies because it has so many hit points. And this brings us to the next mount. That's the Flame Basilisk. This is a swamp dragon that's kind of like an artillery that can fire AoE flames everywhere, which sets the enemies on fire. And they have a long-lasting dot, which is not overwritten, so you cannot bring 20 of these and burst someone down. But the E-spell of this Flame Basilisk deals percentage-based damage, which is a very good counter against the Mammoth because it has a high hit point pool, and you can reduce it by a percent. And if you think, oh, well, we can already do that with poison potions, that will be changed in K. Poison potions will still deal true damage, but they have a fixed amount that is adjusted for a player health and is not that strong against the Mammoth. And last but not least, we have the Venom Basilisk. That's the poison-spitting brother of the Flame Basilisk. This one is armored and can dive into the enemy line a bit better and survives more. And he can debuff the enemies. He can spit poison that reduces the armor, or he can weaken them that they have less attack power for a short time. And all these mounts are built in a way that you usually don't want to stack them too much because their effects override each other. And so we keep the balance where we have like a certain amount of regular players and some mounts in between. And we are really looking forward to how the fights will look and how what metagame can evolve around that, where you try to counter the mounts of the other guild. And but we have more stuff for you, since we have been focusing more on how we can make the large-scale fights or open-world fights in general more exciting. We are adding new weapons, the Artifact Level 3 weapons, which are usually designed for open-world fights and group fights. They are very hard to obtain. You usually get them through castles, raid bosses, some extent hellgates, and other bosses. So we expect them to be used in group fights mostly. And to give you some examples, there is this Camlan mace. It's a huge mace where you can shoot this skill shot, which is like a shockwave. And the first enemy it hits, it will create like a black hole around this enemy that pulls all the other enemies toward them after a short delay. So a very strong tool for big fights to group your enemies up. Or we have the Flame Tornado, which has a very long cooldown but deals a massive amount of damage. Also very strong in these large fights. And another nice example is maybe the Bow of Baden. It's the new artifact bow. It shoots a lightning arrow. And when it hits an enemy, it creates a storm cloud that rains down thunder. And once an enemy is struck by thunder, he will be electrocuted for a while. So he stays under the effect of the thunder. And while he's under the effect of the thunder, he cannot cast spells. So it's a very strong counter for, say, maybe holy healers. They cannot use their Q, but all the other instant abilities will still work. And that's just a few examples. There's a lot of interesting spells coming. And we are really looking forward to how the meta will change and what you can do with this. Also, really looking forward to some videos of the community. And one thing regarding meta changes, of course, with K, we are also doing a combat balance update where we adjust, for instance, Grudge and other abilities, so don't worry about that. And another important source for these new items will be the GVG seasons, which we will be explaining in the next video in more detail. But in general, it's as a short overview, you get these rewards by taking part, and you get an energy source which you can then convert into either battle mounts, which are very expensive, or into relics, which you can then use to craft artifacts out of them. And that's it for this video. I'm really looking forward to how you will play the new items and some gameplay footage maybe from the community. And thanks for tuning in.